On March 23, 2009, Captain Richard Phillips is preparing to go for the airport with his wife Andrea while packing his bags and checking his passport at the residence in Vermont. They share their worry for their children and the changing times as they travel. When they go to the airport, they kiss goodbye before Phillips walks inside and Andrea drives off. In the meantime, local mercenaries arrive to the small settlement of Isle on the coast of Somalia in a convoy of vans. In a crude hut, Muse is fast asleep on the hard ground when a young boy rushes to wake him up. Muse is informed by the youngster that they are coming. The mercenaries are told to board their boats and head out in search of anything because the villagers are upset that they haven't given them any cash for their warlord leader, Garrod, since the previous week. The head of the village is Hufan. He leads a fishing vessel that was stolen from Taiwanese pirates the year before. Hufan instructs Muse and another skiff captain named Assad to choose 3 men each and prepare their skiffs for this journey. Muse selects Bilal, Elmi, and Naji, a man who is quiet but powerful, as members of his crew. Long homemade ladders, water, and fuel are loaded into the skiffs by the crew before they are pushed out into the waves and powered up for the trip to the mothership. The MV Maersk Alabama, a commercial container ship with a home port in Norfolk, is under Captain Phillips' command as he arrives in the port of Salalah in Oman. Nearly all of the ladders, hatches, and doors are unlocked and completely accessible as he ascends to the bridge. Phillips greets Shane Murphy, his first mate, and learns that their instructions are to travel to Mombasa, Kenya, via the Gulf of Aden and the Horn of Africa. He also gives information about their cargo. They are transporting commercial freight totaling 2,500 tons. Captain Phillips gives Murphy the task of making sure that all doors and hatches are closed throughout the ship and kept that way even when the ship is in port since they are concerned about pirate activities off the coast of Somalia. The ship sets off on its journey after finishing its cargo loading. Hufan observes that there are many ships in the main waterway as he checks the radar on his fishing boat. One ship stands out from the others, he notices. They are going to aim for the Maersk Alabama. Emergency exercises are conducted at sea by Captain Phillips in order to ensure that the crew is as ready as possible in case of emergency. Captain Phillips detects 2 little blips on the ship's radar screen shortly after they begin their first drill. He goes outdoors and uses his binoculars to observe. Once again inside, he tells Mr. Murphy to go back to the bridge. The 20-man crew of Captain Phillips is informed and instructed to report to their positions. He picks up his personal radio and pretends to make contact with Coalition Warship 237 after realizing that the pirates almost certainly had a marine radio. He impersonates the pretend answering military authority by masking his voice. The pirates listen while Phillips, posing as a military official, first declares that the weapons on board the Maersk Alabama are ready for use and then states that a helicopter or jet will pass overhead in 5 minutes. Assad instructs his skiff to turn around and end the pursuit because he thinks what he hears on the radio. Muse, however, tells his driver to go faster since he doesn't think what he's heard is true. Mike Perry, the chief engineer, is given the order by Captain Phillips to accelerate the ship to its top speed and make alternate turns to the port and starboard. This causes the ship's wake to upset the smaller boat, but Muse commands Elmi to continue moving the much quicker skiff at full speed. The boat's engine fails just before they reach the Maersk Alabama, leaving them stranded. Phillips addresses his crew and informs them that they will need to work double shifts, but that they will still carry out their task as planned. Many crew members are terrified and claim they didn't sign up to fight pirates since they believe they will return. If someone wants to leave, he suggests that they should wait until they reach Mombasa and take a flight home from there. That evening, Muse and his men attempt to repair the engine on his boat while working from the mothership. The Maersk Alabama is still being followed by the mothership. Muse is not satisfied that Assad decided to abandon the pursuit prematurely. When Assad orders Elmi to fix the engine right away, Muse recommends that Assad give them his engine instead. After repairing the damaged engine on Assad's boat, Muse and his men take control of Assad's vessel and add it to their new vessel, greatly enhancing its power. Muse and his men are again at sea the following morning and they are once more closing quickly on the Maersk Alabama. Murphy calls Phillips, who had just completed taking a shower, to the bridge and tells him the crew is to report to their stations, and Phillips directs avoidance actions. He gets in touch with the UK MTO once more and informs them that pirates are attacking them. MTO said it will get in touch with the military. Then Phillips takes out 2 big red flares from an emergency pack. He lights them, then aims the flares at the skiff. They simply fail. The firewater doesn't prove to be a hindrance as Bilal unlashes the improvised ladder and with help from the others is able to hook it over the edge of the railing of the cargo ship. Then, one by one, each man climbs the ladder and makes his way up the side and aboard. The majority of the crew is instructed by Captain Phillips to descend to the engine room, seal the hatches, disperse, and hide. They must wait until they hear him use the secret password, supper time, before opening the door or leaving. Including the lock on the bridge door, the pirates fire off any locks they come across. They storm in and point their weapons at Phillips and the rest of the crew. Muse walks up to Phillips and tells him to calm down since no one needs to be hurt because he and his men are only there on business and everything will be okay once they get paid. Muse queries Phillips about the origin of the ship. When the skipper reveals that the ship is American, Najee is delighted. Muse declares that he is the new captain and then inquires as to what cargo the ship is carrying in addition to food and water. If Muse and his men will depart, Phillips says he may have the $30,000 in the ship's safe. Actually, Muse may have been tempted to take the money and flee, but he knew it would never be acceptable to Garrett. Muse appears insulted and asks, $30,000, do I look like a beggar? In reality, he may have been tempted to take the money and escape. As soon as the chief engineer flips the main switch off, the emergency power comes on and the electricity to the ship abruptly disappears. Muse requests to be informed about the situation. He is informed by Phillips that the ship has broken for an unforeseen cause. Where are the other members of the crew? Muse asks. Invoking ignorance, Phillips claims he has been working on the bridge and is unaware of their location. Muse assures Phillips that as long as he refrains from trying to play games with him, nothing will go wrong. Muse instructs Phillips to direct his team to the bridge before deciding to address them directly over the intercom. He threatens to start shooting those on the bridge, one guy every minute, if the remainder of the crew doesn't emerge from concealment. Muse is the captain, therefore Phillips agrees that if he had to shoot anyone, he should shoot him. Muse is confronted by Phillips, who asks him if killing people is how he does business. Muse muses over it and chooses against killing anyone in favor of searching the ship. Phillips informs Muse that searching the ship won't be a problem, provided they don't lose their emergency power and the ship goes entirely dark. He says this while keeping his thumb covertly depressed on the walkie radio talkie send button. Perry is instructed to climb up to the main deck and turn off the emergency power when Murphy picks up on the captain's hint concerning the ship's lighting. Phillips and Bilal hunt for the crew together. Phillips advises they investigate the ship from the top down, but Muse quickly figures out his plan and instructs Phillips to lead them to the engine room instead, believing that this is where the ship's damage is coming from. Muse permits a break along the route so that the crew can obtain some water since the engine room would be warm. When he hears them approaching, Murphy, who was already in the galley, had to swiftly seek cover. In order to avoid being discovered, Murphy uses his radio to alert his staff in the engine room that a search party is approaching after Phillips, Muse, and Bilal have left. He also suggests placing some broken glass at the entrance to the engine room because one of the pirates is barefoot. Bilal cuts his foot badly when the search team enters the engine room, stepping first through the entrance and directly onto the shattered glass. He is told to go on by Muse. But after a while, it becomes clear that Bilal is bleeding too profusely to continue, so Muse gives the order to send Najee down and send Phillips back to the bridge. Muse is working alone on the search in the meantime. Muse is ambushed by a few of the crew members. Muse slashes his hand with a knife one of the attackers was holding during the battle. The crew then uses the radio to inform the pirates on the bridge that they have Muse and will trade him for Captain Phillips in exchange for a promise that the pirates will take the $30,000 and sail away. Muse must verbally accept those conditions and do so over the radio so that his men can hear. Najee opposes on the bridge. He demands millions of dollars, but Muse has the final say. The $30,000 is taken out of the ship's safe by Phillips, who then passes it to the pirates in a bag. Najee insists that Captain Phillips board the lifeboat with them. Phillips refuses to accompany Elmi, but he does get into the lifeboat to demonstrate how to use it. Muse has been freed by the crew in the meanwhile, so he can board the lifeboat. Najee knocks Phillips to the ground as he turns to leave the lifeboat before slamming the door shut. The lifeboat is subsequently let go by Elmi, and it sinks into the water. Admiral Howard contacts the USS Bainbridge, a guided missile destroyer of the Arleigh Burke class, and reports the seizure of the Maersk Alabama and subsequent capture of Captain Phillips as a hostage on the lifeboat. The Alabama's crew made the decision to go with the lifeboat and their commander. The Bainbridge's crew calculates that it will take the lifeboat around 36 hours to travel the 126 miles to Somalia. The guys in the lifeboat are brutally informed of their arrival by the USS Bainbridge, which arrives by flashing spotlights and honking its emergency horns. Phillips smiles broadly as soon as he sees the Bainbridge when Muse opens the door to indicate its presence. On the Bainbridge, there is a man who goes by the name Nemo. He contacts with the pirates in Somalian and claims to work with the Navy. As a starting point for the negotiation effort to secure Captain Phillips' return, he provides them with food and drink. Nemo is informed by Muse that the demand is $10 million. Although it won't be simple, Nemo assures Muse that they can talk about it. As the dialogue outside progresses, Najee becomes more and more irritated until he lifts his gun and shoots the lifeboat's roof very next to Phillips' ear. The CO instantly orders the withdrawal of the gunboats due to his concern that Phillips may have been shot. Quickly informing the Bainbridge CO that Phillips is fine, Muse then asks Phillips to affirm on the radio. Muse assures the CO that he will get in touch with them soon they are in Somalia. Muse permits Phillips to exit the lifeboat after he informs him that he needs to pee. Bilal has already left. Bilal glances down to examine Phillips' suggestion that the salt water would be therapeutic for his damaged foot before he pushes him into the sea and jumps in afterward. The naval crew members see him and Bilal in the water as he begins swimming toward the Bainbridge, but it is too dark for them to tell which of the two is Phillips. To prevent Phillips from escaping, Najee raises his weapon at him in an attempt to kill him, but Muse commands him to back off. Muse then dives into the sea and swims to Phillips, trying to get him to return to the lifeboat by pulling on his shirt. Phillips misplaces his shirt as a result. Phillips chooses to board the raft once more rather than run the risk of being shot by Najee. As soon as he climbs aboard, Najee kicks and punches him, forcing Muse to remove him before he can kill Phillips. The SEAL commander takes over tactical control of the entire operation and speaks to Muse to let him know that he is the designated American negotiator. The lifeboat is supposed to be towed to the exchange location. Muse is told by Najee that it's an ambush. Muse nevertheless consents to head over to the Bainbridge during the negotiations in order to meet with the Navy and the elders. With sniper rifles in hand, take up position on the Bainbridge's helicopter deck. The Bainbridge sends a skiff to the lifeboat to bring Muse aboard and attach a tow rope. Additionally, they covertly fasten a listening device on the exterior of the lifeboat. A bag carrying a yellow shirt is thrown over while it is there. It is Phillips' shirt. In addition, the man throwing the shirt urges Phillips to put it on to be warm and to make sure to remain seated in the same position. As they depart, he reminds Phillips once more to remain in the same seat. The snipers want to find verifiable sightings of all three of the pirates on the raft so they can kill them. The ideal range for sighting is 91 meters. It is necessary to tow the lifeboat closer because it is more than 200 meters out. The Halibutton and Bainbridge must move at high speed in the same general direction but at a slight offset. In order to smooth out the voyage, the negotiator instructs the pirates to steer in the Bainbridge's wake, which would put the lifeboat in prime position for the snipers. The SEAL snipers attempt to gain confirmed sightings of each of the three pirates as the Bainbridge tows the raft closer, but they are unsuccessful. After making sure no one is looking at him, Phillips hastily picks up an ink pen off the floor and begins to quickly scribble a final note to his family on some scrap paper. Najee is ready to kill Phillips because she thinks they are all going to die anyhow. Men on the Bainbridge see Phillips being bound and blindfolded and alert the leader of the SEAL team. Phillips implores the pirates to surrender up and simply raise their hands. He begs on Bilal's behalf, pointing out that the boy is only a child. He's ignored by Najee. Then Phillips begins to publicly declare his love for his wife while expressing regret to her for being away from home. By then, there are 2 confirmed sniper sightings of the pirates, but Najee is still not in sight. The team commander then orders the tow stopped. That causes Najee to stumble forward and into view through a window. That provides a visual on all 3 pirates and the order to execute is carried out immediately. Blood sprays all over Phillips and he screams. The mandate to destroy Muse is issued. He is handcuffed, placed in the deck, and taken to jail right away. If his pals had died, Muse queries. He is told by a Navy officer that Captain Phillips is safe and that the other 3 have perished. Muse sags his shoulders. Phillips is removed from the lifeboat and taken to the Bainbridge where he is treated for his wounds in the medical department of the Bainbridge.